My name is Tyra, and I was 32 years old the night my parents asked me to enter a luxury hotel through the kitchen. Not because the front doors were closed, not because I was late, not because there was some kind of security issue. They asked me to do it because they had already told the entire family I worked there. I still remember standing in the lobby of the Ellison Grand Hotel with my hand around the strap of my small black purse, wearing a deep blue dress I had saved for nearly a year to buy. It was simple, fitted at the waist with soft sleeves and a neckline that made me feel graceful without feeling like I was trying too hard. For once, I had not dressed to disappear. That was the problem. My mother saw me first. She was standing near the entrance to the ballroom, with my father beside her, both of them dressed like they were posing for a life they had practiced in front of a mirror. My mother's smile changed the second she saw me. It did not vanish. That would have been too honest. It tightened. My father looked at me, then looked away. That was when I knew something was wrong. My mother crossed the lobby quickly, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She took my arm with the kind of grip that looked affectionate from a distance, but was not gentle at all. "Tyra," she said under her breath. "Come here for a second." I thought maybe she was going to tell me my tag was showing, or that I had lipstick on my teeth. Something small, something fixable. Instead, she pulled me toward the hallway beside the ballroom entrance, close enough that I could hear the faint crash of dishes and the low hum of kitchen staff behind a swinging service door. She looked me up and down. Then she leaned in and whispered, "We already told people you work here." I did not answer. For a moment, I honestly thought I had misheard her. The lobby kept moving around us. Guests walked past in evening gowns and dark suits. A server carried a tray of champagne. Somewhere inside the ballroom, someone laughed too loudly. My mother glanced over her shoulder, then lowered her voice even more. "It was just easier," she said. "People were asking questions, and we didn't want things to get complicated." My father came up behind her slowly. He did not touch me. He did not look angry. He looked tired, like my existence had become an errand he had hoped to avoid. "Your mother is just trying to keep the evening smooth," he said. Smooth. That was one of my family's favorite words. Smooth meant quiet. Smooth meant obedient. Smooth meant Tyra should swallow whatever was handed to her and smile like it tasted fine. I looked down at my dress. The fabric caught the warm light from the chandelier. I remember noticing that my hands were steady. That surprised me. My chest felt hollow, but my hands were steady. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "You told people I work here?" My mother's eyes sharpened. "Don't say it like that." "How should I say it?" She exhaled through her nose, impatient but still careful. There were people nearby. She never lost control where the right people could see. "You know how this family is," she said. "Everyone asks questions. Everyone judges. We just needed a simple explanation for why you were coming. For why I was invited." Her mouth pressed into a line. That was the answer. Then she lifted one hand and pointed toward the service hallway. Not directly at first, just a small motion, a quiet instruction. The kitchen door swung open for a second, and heat rolled out with the smell of roasted garlic, butter, steam, and dish soap. A man in a white jacket pushed through, carrying a metal rack of plates. The door closed behind him with a soft slap. My mother nodded toward it. "Just go in that way," she whispered. "Come through later, blend in. We'll explain everything after." There are moments when pain does not arrive like a scream. Sometimes it arrives very quietly. It stands beside you in a beautiful lobby while your mother points to a kitchen door and asks you to help her erase you. I looked at my father. He adjusted his cuff, that was all. And I think that hurt more than what my mother said. Because my mother had always been sharp when she was afraid of being embarrassed. But my father had always acted like silence was kindness. Like if he did not say the cruel thing himself, he had not helped it happen. My mother touched my elbow again. "Tyra," she said, "please don't make this difficult." I almost laughed, not because it was funny. Because I realized she had told a lie, invited me into it, dressed it up as practicality, and somehow I was already being blamed for the mess it made. Then, from across the lobby, a man's voice cut through everything, clear, warm, certain. "Tyra?" My mother froze, my father turned. I turned too. And standing near the ballroom doors was the owner of the Ellison Grand Hotel, Mr. Ellison. His silver hair was combed back, his black suit perfectly tailored, one hand resting on a polished cane he rarely used but always carried. He was looking straight at me, not at my mother, not at my father, at me. His face changed when he saw me, not with confusion, not with surprise, with relief. Then he said my name again, louder this time, so half the lobby heard it. "Tyra, my dear." "There you are." My mother's hand slipped off my arm. And in that tiny silence, I watched something pass across her face. Not guilt, not yet, fear. Because in that moment, she realized something she should have known before she built a lie around me. The hotel owner knew exactly who I was, and he was not looking at me like I worked there. He was looking at me like I belonged there. Before I tell you why, Mr. Ellison knew my name, please hit like and subscribe. I want you to think about something for a second. If your own parents invited you somewhere, dressed the whole family up, brought everyone to a beautiful gala, and then told you to enter through the kitchen because they had lied about who you were, what would you have done? Would you have walked away? Would you have exposed them right there? Or would you have stood still and let the truth arrive on its own? Now let me take you back. Because that night did not start at the hotel. It started 3 weeks earlier with a cream-colored envelope sitting crooked in my mailbox between an electric bill and a grocery store flyer. I almost threw it away. It looked too formal to be personal. Thick paper, embossed edges, my name written in careful black ink, not printed, written. Whoever addressed it had taken their time. I stood in the narrow hallway outside my apartment with my keys still in my hand, balancing my tote bag against my hip while Mrs. Alvarez from 2B argued with the laundry machine down the hall. It was raining that evening. Not hard, just enough to leave dark spots on my sleeves and make the whole building smell faintly, like wet concrete and old wood. My shoes squeaked when I stepped inside. My apartment was small, but I kept it neat. Not perfect. Just mine. A little dining table with 2 chairs, though I usually only used one. A stack of folders beside my laptop, a chipped blue mug in the sink, a calendar on the fridge with work shifts, dentist appointments, and small reminders written in black pen. Pick up dry cleaning, call pharmacy, pay car insurance, normal things, quiet things. I set the envelope on the table and stared at it longer than I needed to. My parents did not usually send mail. My mother sent texts that began with, "Call me when you get this," and somehow sounded disappointed before I even called. My father left voicemails that were mostly pauses and background television. Invitations, when they came through someone else, a cousin, an aunt. A group chat where my name was added after the plans had already been made. But this envelope had my full name on it, Tyra Monique Hayes. I ran my thumb over the ink. For a strange little second, I felt 12 years old again, standing at the edge of the living room, while my mother handed my older cousin Nina a wrapped birthday gift and told everyone how proud she was of her. I remembered waiting for someone to say my name with that same warmth. Most people grow out of that kind of waiting. I had not, I just learned to do it quietly. Inside the envelope was an invitation to a gala at the Ellison Grand Hotel, black tie optional. Dinner, music, a short program, family seating available upon confirmation. At the bottom, in my mother's handwriting, was a note. "Tyra, we'd like you to come. It would mean a lot if the whole family could be together." I read that sentence 3 times. The whole family. It should not have undone me as much as it did. I knew better than to build a house out of one sentence. But there I was, standing in my kitchen with rain tapping the window, letting myself feel something dangerously close to hope. I put the invitation on the table, then I picked it up again, then I put it down. My phone buzzed before I could decide what to feel. It was my mother. "Did you get it?" Just that. No heart, no smiley face, no explanation. I typed back yes, 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Appeared again. Good. Let me know soon. We need an accurate count. An accurate count. Not, "I hope you can come." Not, "It would be nice to see you." Just a count. Still, I told myself not to be unfair. My mother was practical. She had always been practical. Maybe this was her way of trying. Maybe she did not know how to sound soft anymore. Maybe some people reached out with both hands, and some people reached out with spreadsheets. I texted back, "I can come." Her reply came almost immediately. "Wear something appropriate." I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I locked the phone and set it face down on the table. Outside, a car passed through a puddle, water hissing against the curb. In the apartment above mine, someone dropped something heavy, then laughed. I looked again at the invitation, the Ellison Grand. That name meant something to most people in my city: luxury, old money, gold elevators, charity luncheons, weddings that had their own magazine spreads. But to me, it meant something else. A quiet hallway on the fourth floor, a woman with silver bracelets and tired eyes, a folded note tucked into a book, a promise I had never told my family about. I did not let myself think about that yet, not fully. Instead, I went to my closet and opened the door. Most of my clothes were practical: work blouses, dark pants, cardigans, shoes I could walk in without thinking about my feet. Things that made me look acceptable in rooms where no one was looking too closely. But at the back, zipped inside a garment bag, was the blue dress. I had bought it during a winter clearance sale after trying it on 3 times and walking out of the store twice. It had cost more than I usually allowed myself to spend. I remembered standing under the dressing room lights, turning slightly, expecting to find something wrong. Too tight, too bright, too much, but all I saw was myself, not improved, not transformed. Just visible. That had scared me a little. I unzipped the garment bag and touched the sleeve. My mother's text was still in my mind: wear something appropriate. I wondered what she would think when she saw it. Then I wondered why, at 32 years old, I still cared. I wish I could say I decided right then that I would wear it no matter what. I wish I could say I stood in my bedroom full of certainty and self-respect. But the truth is quieter than that. I stood there for a long time, with one hand on the dress, trying to decide whether being included was worth being careful. And that was the first mistake I made. I thought the invitation meant they were making room for me. I did not understand yet that they had already decided what kind of room I was allowed to enter. I left the dress hanging outside the closet for 3 days. That probably sounds dramatic, but it was not. I did not stand there staring at it every hour. I went to work. I bought groceries. I answered emails. I folded towels while listening to the news. I paid my water bill online and wrote the confirmation number on a sticky note because that was the kind of thing I did when I felt unsettled. I kept my life neat when my feelings were not. But every time I passed my bedroom door, I saw that blue sleeve hanging from the garment bag. Visible, waiting. On the 4th day, my mother called during my lunch break. I was sitting in my car outside the clinic, where I worked as an administrative coordinator. Half my sandwich was still wrapped in foil on my lap, and my phone was balanced against the steering wheel. Rain clouds were gathered low over the parking lot, making the whole afternoon feel gray and undecided. "Did you confirm?" she asked. "No, hello. I told you I could come. I mean properly confirm, Tyra. There's a difference." I closed my eyes for a second. "What do you need from me? Your full name. Any dietary restrictions. Whether you're bringing someone." That last part came with a tone. Light enough to deny, sharp enough to feel. "No," I said, "just me," a small pause. "Well," she said, "that makes it simpler." I looked out at the wet windshield. A nurse in purple scrubs hurried toward the entrance with her purse over her head. "Is everyone going?" I asked. "Most of the family," she said. "Your Aunt Denise, Uncle Robert, the girls." Nina, of course, of course. Nina was my cousin, but in our family she occupied the space an older sister might have if older sisters came with perfect hair, careful smiles, and a talent for making every room approve of her. She was a realtor, a charity committee member, and the kind of person my mother introduced with details. "This is Nina. She just closed on a lakefront property. This is Nina. She organized the fundraiser. This is Nina. You should see her house at Christmas." When my mother introduced me, she usually said, "And this is Tyra." Then she let the silence finish the sentence. I did not hate Nina. That would have been easier. She was not cruel in any simple way. She was polished. She was pleasant when people were watching. She remembered birthdays on social media. She called older relatives sweetheart and always knew where to stand in photos. But she also had a way of looking at me like she was waiting for me to explain why I was there. My mother continued listing names, each one making the gala bigger and less personal. "Your father invited a few people from his church board, too," she added. "And some of the donors from the hospital campaign might stop by. It's not just family, so please understand the tone of the evening." The tone? You know what I mean? I did, unfortunately. Tone meant behavior. Tone meant presentation. Tone meant do not embarrass us by being too much of whatever they already believed I was. I picked at the edge of the foil around my sandwich. What time should I be there? 6:30. Not later. Okay, and Tyra? Yes, nothing too dramatic. I did not answer right away. She softened her voice just enough to make the criticism sound like advice. You're a pretty girl. You don't need to try so hard. There it was, the little cut wrapped in tissue paper. I haven't shown you what I'm wearing, I said. I'm just saying. I know, no, I don't think you do. This is a very elegant venue. People there will notice things. People there. As if I had never been near elegance without mishandling it. I thought about telling her that I knew the Ellison Grand. Not in the way she meant. Not as a place to impress people. But I knew the turn of the front steps, brass rail near the revolving doors, the soft green lamps in the old reading lounge off the east corridor. I knew the hotel had a quiet hour in the afternoon when the lobby flowers were replaced and the piano was tuned. I knew there was a narrow service elevator that made a clicking sound before the doors opened on the 4th floor. But I did not say any of that. Some things become unsafe when handed to the wrong people. I'll dress appropriately, I said. Good, she replied, satisfied. After we hung up, I sat in the car until my lunch break was almost over. My sandwich had gone soft. The inside of the windshield fogged slightly around the edges. I wiped a clear space with my sleeve and looked at my own face in the rearview mirror. I looked normal. That always surprised me after calls with my mother. I expected my face to show it somehow, a dent, a bruise. Some sign that a small part of me had been pressed down again, but I only looked tired. That evening, I took the invitation out again and laid it beside my calendar. The gala was marked for the last Saturday of the month. I wrote it carefully in black pen. Ellison Gala, 6:30. Then I paused and added a question mark after it. I do not know why. Maybe because part of me still did not trust it. Maybe because invitations from my family had always felt a little like doors with someone standing behind them, deciding how far I could come in. When I was younger, I used to be the helpful one. That was the word everyone used. Helpful. At family dinners, I helped set tables before I sat down. I washed serving spoons while the others talked in the living room. I kept younger cousins occupied. I ran to the store when someone forgot ice. I held purses during photographs. I cleaned up wrapping paper after birthdays. No one asked Nina to help. Nina was busy being admired. I was busy being useful. There was one Thanksgiving when I was 22 that I still remember too clearly. My mother had made a big deal about taking a family picture before dinner. Everyone gathered near the fireplace. I had been in the kitchen, rinsing cranberry sauce out of a glass dish because it had started to stain. When I walked in, my cousin Marcus said, "Wait, are we doing one with Tyra too?" He said it casually. Not mean, almost confused. My mother laughed a little and said, "She's been helping me all day. Let her clean up first." The picture was taken without me. Later, my father told me, "You know your mother appreciates you." I wanted to ask him if appreciation was supposed to feel so much like absence. But he looked tired then too, so I said nothing. That was how it usually went with him. My father did not command the room the way my mother did. He did not make sharp comments about my clothes or my job, or whether my hair looked finished. He was gentle in public. Quiet in conflict. People thought that made him safe. But silence can hold a person down just as firmly as a hand. When my mother decided something, he rarely challenged her. He would sigh, rub his forehead, and say, "Let's not upset your mother," or "You know how she gets," or "Just let this one go, this one." There were so many this ones that eventually they became my whole place in the family. I closed the calendar and carried my mug to the sink. The apartment was quiet, except for the refrigerator humming and the soft tick of rain against the window. I washed the mug, dried it, and placed it back in the cabinet with the handle facing out. Small order, small control. My phone buzzed, a message from Nina. "Heard you're coming to the gala." Cute. "Mom said your parents finally convinced you." I stared at it. Finally convinced me. Not invited me, convinced me. I typed, "Looking forward to seeing everyone." Then I deleted it. I typed, "Yes, I'll be there." That felt safer. Her reply came with a little champagne emoji. "Should be fun. Very upscale though. You'll be okay, right?" I read the message twice. Then I set my phone down and looked toward the bedroom where the blue dress still hung in the soft dark. "You'll be okay, right?" That was how they did it. Not open insult. Not enough to confront without sounding sensitive. Just a little reminder that they knew the room better than I did. That they belonged to it more naturally. That I would have to be careful. The next morning, before work, I called the number at the bottom of the invitation to confirm my attendance. A woman with a pleasant voice answered and asked for my name. Tyra Hayes, I said. There was a brief sound of typing, then a pause. Not long, just long enough for me to notice. Yes, she said carefully. I see you. Something about the way she said it made my fingers tighten around the phone. Not, I have your reservation. Not, you're on the list, I see you. Do you need anything else from me? I asked. Not at the moment, she said. The final seating chart is still being adjusted. You should receive confirmation closer to the event. The family table is under Hayes, I said. Another pause. Yes, she said. I do see the Hayes party. But she did not say I was seated with them. I waited for her to add it. She did not. Instead, she said, we'll make sure you're taken care of, Miss Hayes. Miss Hayes. My family called me Tyra when they needed something, and girl when they wanted me smaller. Miss Hayes felt strange in my ear. After the call ended, I stood in my kitchen with the phone still in my hand. The morning light was pale and thin across the table. The invitation sat beneath the salt shaker, where I had put it so it would not curl at the edges. For a few seconds, I told myself it was nothing. Seating charts changed. Hotels were formal. Maybe the woman was new. Maybe I was reading too much into everything because my mother had made me nervous. That was a habit too, explaining away discomfort before it became evidence. I picked up the invitation again and looked at the line about family seating. Available upon confirmation, I had confirmed. My mother had asked for an accurate count. The hotel had seen my name, and still there was no clear place for me. I stood there for a while, listening to the quiet apartment and the low hum of the refrigerator. Then I looked toward the bedroom. The blue dress was still hanging where I had left it. For the first time, it did not look like a question. It looked like an answer I was not ready to give. The next few days passed in that strange way. Time moves when you are waiting for something you are not sure you want. I went to work. I answered appointment calls. I updated patient forms. I corrected a bevel code that had been entered wrong twice. I ate leftover pasta out of a glass container at my desk because the break room microwave was making a sound like it was tired of living. Normal things, but under all of it there was the gala. It sat in the back of my mind like a calendar reminder I could not dismiss. That Thursday evening, my mother called again. I had just come home from work and was standing in my bedroom in socks, holding the blue dress against myself in the mirror. Not wearing it, just holding it up to see if I still felt the same. I did. That was inconvenient. My phone buzzed on the bed. Mom, I let it ring twice before answering. Hello? What are you doing? She asked. Just got home. There was noise behind her. Dishes. My father's voice low in the background. A television turned down but not off. I wanted to check in about Saturday. The gala is next Saturday. I know when it is, Tyra. I mean in general. I lowered the dress and laid it carefully across the bedspread. Okay, what did you decide to wear? I looked at the dress. A blue dress. A pause. What kind of blue dress? The regular kind. Don't be cute. I'm not. She sighed, and I could picture her exactly. Standing in her kitchen with one hand on the counter, eyes half closed, like I was a problem she was trying to solve, politely. Send me a picture. I should have said no. I knew that even then. Instead, I turned the dress toward the mirror, took a photo, and sent it before I could change my mind. The little circle spun for half a second, delivered then silence, not long silence. Just mother silence, the kind that made you start reviewing yourself before she said a word. Finally, she said, that's a lot. I sat on the edge of the bed. It's a simple dress. For you, maybe. I looked down at the fabric, at the soft weight of it against my comforter. What does that mean? It means I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. There was the word again, dressed as concern. Uncomfortable, as if the dress might hurt me. As if visibility was a weather condition I was not prepared for. I won't, I said. You say that now, but this is not a casual family dinner. This is a formal setting. People will be dressed properly. I know, and I don't want you to misunderstand the atmosphere. I almost asked her how many different ways she could call me out of place without saying it directly. Instead, I said, Mom, do you want me there? The question came out softer than I meant it to. That bothered me. On the other end, something shifted. Maybe she moved rooms. Maybe she just lowered her voice. Of course we want you there, she said. But she said it too quickly. Then she added, I just want the night to go well. I looked at the invitation on my dresser. Cream paper, black ink, family seating available upon confirmation. For everyone? I asked. For the family, she said. I did not miss the difference. Before I could answer, I heard my father in the background. Don't start anything with her, Diane. His voice was tired, not protective, just tired. My mother covered the phone, but not enough. I'm not starting anything, she said. I'm trying to prevent something. Prevent something. Me, apparently. When she came back on the line, her voice was calmer. Your father agrees, she said. Tonight matters. It's next Saturday, I said again, because it was easier than saying what I actually heard. You know what I mean, I did. I always did. After we hung up, I left the dress on the bed and went into the kitchen. I opened the fridge, stared into it, and closed it again. Then I opened my email on my phone even though I had no reason to. There was a message from the hotel. Not from the general events office this time. From a name I did not recognize. Subject, Ellison Grand Gala, guest confirmation. My thumb hovered over it. For a second, I felt something old and careful move in my chest. The Ellison Grand has had that effect on me. Not because it was beautiful, though it was. Because beauty there had once come with kindness, and I had not known what to do with that. I opened the email. Dear Ms. Hayes, we are pleased to confirm your attendance at the Ellison Grand Legacy Gala. Additional arrival details will be provided closer to the event. Warmly, Claire Bennett Foundation Office. I read that twice. Not events team. Not family table. Foundation Office. I locked my phone and set it face down on the counter. Some truths do not announce themselves. They tap once on the glass and wait. The next afternoon, Nina called while I was filing insurance paperwork. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got me. Hey, Tyra, she said brightly. Busy? A little. What's up? Oh, nothing major. Aunt Diane asked me to make sure everyone had the timing right. Aunt Diane. My mother had recruited Nina. That was never accidental. 6:30, I said. Well, for most people, yes. I think they wanted you a little earlier. I stopped moving. The file folder in my hand stayed half open. Earlier, maybe 6, I'm not sure. You know how these things are. There's setup, check-in, all that. Setup? Nina laughed lightly. Not setup. I just mean, whatever they need. What would they need from me? Oh, Tyra, don't get weird. I'm just passing along what I heard. There it was again, the trapdoor under every sentence. If I asked too much, I was weird. If I noticed too much, I was difficult. If I stayed quiet, the story moved forward without me. I'll ask my mother, I said. Sure. Do that. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice had softened into something almost affectionate. And about the dress, I saw the picture. Of course she had. I closed the folder. It's pretty, she said. Really, just maybe a little main character for the night? I let my eyes rest on the stack of forms in front of me, patient names, birth dates, policy numbers. Things that had to be accurate because real consequences came from small errors. Main character, I repeated. You know what I mean. Your parents have a lot of people coming. Your mom just doesn't want distractions. I'm a distraction? No. Don't twist it. I smiled a little, though there was no one there to see it. That was another family phrase. Don't twist it. It usually meant, do not repeat what I said in a way that makes it sound like what it is. I have to get back to work, I said. Okay, Nina replied. Just check in with your mom. She's stressed. Everyone was always stressed. And somehow, their stress always arrived at my door with instructions. That evening, I called my father. I did not call my mother because I wanted one clear answer without the velvet wrapping. He picked up on the fourth ring. Hey, baby girl. The name should have felt warm. Sometimes it still did. That was the problem with fathers who disappointed you quietly. The old tenderness never disappeared completely. It just learned to sit beside the hurt. Hi, Dad. Do I need to arrive early for the gala? He paused. Who told you that? Nina mentioned it. Another pause, longer. Well, he said, your mother is trying to coordinate a lot. That doesn't answer me. He sighed. I could hear him shift in his chair. Probably the recliner by the front window. Probably one hand rubbing his forehead. Just do what your mother asks, Tyra. Tonight matters to her. There it was, not Saturday. Tonight. As if the event had already become so emotionally large in their house that time had folded around it. What does she want me to do? She wants peace. That's not a task. No, but it's important. I stood by my kitchen window and watched a delivery truck idle at the curb. The driver checked his phone under the yellow streetlight. Dad, I said carefully, am I seated with the family? Silence. Then, why wouldn't you be? It was the kind of answer that avoided answering. I called the hotel. They didn't confirm it. Well, these places have systems. Don't make yourself anxious over nothing. I'm not anxious. Then don't act like it. That landed quietly. I swallowed. He seemed to hear it because his voice softened. Look, your mother has worked hard to make this a nice evening. Just don't go in there looking for reasons to be hurt. I wanted to tell him I had not needed to look. Reasons had always found me. Instead, I said, okay. After we hung up, I stood there in the quiet. The apartment felt smaller than usual, not cramped, just clothes around me. The blue dress was back in its garment bag now, hanging from the closet door. The plastic caught a little shine from the lamp. I walked over and zipped it all the way up. Not to hide it, to protect it. Saturday came closer through small messages. My mother sent a reminder about arrival time, but not the same one the invitation said. Try to be there by 6. It'll help avoid confusion. Avoid confusion. I typed, what confusion? She replied 10 minutes later. Don't start. We'll talk when you get there. Then Nina sent a photo in the family group chat of her outfit laid across a bed. Champagne silk. Gold earrings, shoes with thin straps. Everyone complimented her. My mother wrote, perfect. Elegant and appropriate. I looked at that word until it stopped looking like a word. Appropriate. There were family photos in the chat too. My aunt asking who was riding with whom. Uncle Robert joking about valet parking. Someone asked whether the ballroom had assigned tables. My mother responded, yes, everything is handled, everything, handled. I waited for my name to appear somewhere, in a carpool list, a table number, a joke, anything. It did not. Late Friday night, while I was washing a single plate and fork in the sink, my phone buzzed again. A text from my cousin Marcus. Hey Ty, random question. Are you actually serving at the gala, or just helping your mom with check-in? Aunt Denise said you'd be working the event, so I wasn't sure if we should say hi when we get there or not, lol. The water kept running over my hands, warm at first, then too hot. I turned it off slowly. The apartment went quiet, except for one drop falling from the faucet into the sink. Working the event, I read the message once, then again. Then I looked toward the closet, where the blue dress waited in the dark. And for the first time, I understood that my family had not simply forgotten to make room for me. They had made a room for me, just not the one with them. I did not answer Marcus right away. I stood at the sink with my hands wet and my phone lighting up beside the dish towel. The message sat there like a receipt for something I had not purchased, but was somehow expected to pay for. Working the event, I wanted to call my mother. I wanted to ask her plainly, what did you tell them? But I already knew how that call would go. She would sigh. She would say I was making assumptions. She would say no one meant anything by it. My father would call later and ask me to be patient. Nina would probably text something airy and polished about misunderstandings. And by the end, somehow I would be the one apologizing for noticing, so I dried my hands. I picked up my phone. And instead of calling my mother, I opened the email from the Ellison Grand again. Foundation office. Those 2 words changed the whole temperature of the room, because my family thought the Ellison Grand was just a hotel. To them, it was chandeliers, valet parking, heavy silverware, and the kind of ballroom where people took photos to prove they belonged somewhere expensive. To me, it was a place I had once gone when I did not know where else to be. I was 26 the first time I met Mrs. Ellison. That year had been a hard one, though I never called it that out loud. I had been working 2 part-time jobs then, one at the clinic front desk before I became full-time, and one helping with evening records at a small legal office downtown. Nothing impressive, nothing anyone in my family asked many questions about. My mother called it keeping busy, my father called it finding my way. Mostly, I was just tired. The legal office handled estate paperwork, small business filings, property transfers. I was not a lawyer. I did filing, scanning, scheduling, courier forms, coffee when clients were early and attorneys were late. I learned to read labels on folders quickly, deeds, trust amendments, insurance riders, meeting notes, the plain language of people trying to protect what they were afraid of losing. One rainy Tuesday, my supervisor asked if I could deliver a packet to the Ellison Grand. 4th floor, she said, sliding a sealed envelope across the desk. Private office, ask for Mrs. Ellison. I remember the envelope was thick and cream-colored, like the gala invitation would be years later. I took the bus because parking downtown cost too much. By the time I reached the hotel, my shoes were damp and my umbrella had turned inside out twice. I almost felt foolish walking through those front doors with wet cuffs and a messenger bag that had a broken zipper. The lobby smelled like lilies and polished wood. A man at the front desk looked up, ready to smile in the way hotel people smile. Then he saw the envelope in my hand and directed me to the old elevator near the east corridor. "Mrs. Ellison is expecting it," he said. "Not you, I was used to that." The fourth floor was quieter than the lobby. The carpet softened every step. There were framed black and white photographs along the hall, the hotel under construction, the first grand opening, staff lined up in uniforms from another decade. I slowed down without meaning to. At the end of the hall, a woman sat by a window in a pale gray cardigan, a blanket folded over her lap. She had white hair pinned loosely at the back of her head and silver bracelets stacked on one wrist. She looked too delicate for the size of the room, but her eyes were clear. "You must be Tyra," she said. I stopped. Most people receiving deliveries did not know my name. "Yes, Mom." She smiled a little. "Please don't mom me. It makes me feel like I should be holding a cane and scolding someone." I did not know what to say, so I smiled. She pointed to the chair across from her. "You came through the rain. Sit for a minute. I should get back. Will the city collapse if you drink tea first?" That was Mrs. Ellison, soft voice, no hurry. A way of making simple kindness sound practical, like offering it was not charity but common sense. I sat only for 10 minutes, then 20. She signed the receipt for the envelope and asked me what I did at the firm. Not in the polite way people ask before forgetting. She listened. When I mentioned the clinic job too, she tilted her head. "That is a lot of other people's paperwork," she said. I laughed because it was true. She asked if I liked it. I told her I liked when things were where they were supposed to be. She looked at me for a long second. "Not everything gets placed correctly by the people who handle it," she said. At the time, I thought she was talking about documents. I was not sure now. After that, my supervisor sent me back to the hotel every few weeks, sometimes with forms, sometimes with copies, sometimes with nothing urgent enough to explain why Mrs. Ellison requested me by name. She had been ill, not in a dramatic way, no whispered bedside scenes. Just appointments, fatigue, pill organizers, oxygen tubing tucked discreetly behind a chair some afternoons. Her husband, Mr. Ellison, was often in meetings downstairs, fighting something I did not understand yet. Developers, board members, people who saw the hotel as land and leverage. Mrs. Ellison saw it as memory. She had boxes in that fourth-floor office, old staff records, charity ledgers, letters from her father, who had helped build the hotel from one restored wing after a fire. Some papers were organized, some were not. I started helping because it bothered me to see important things mixed with catering invoices and old menus. At first, I only labeled folders. Then I created a spreadsheet, date, document type, signatory, notes, storage location. It was the kind of work no one clapped for. I liked it that way. Mrs. Ellison would sit near the window, resting, while I sorted through paper that smelled like dust and ink. Sometimes she told stories. A bellman who paid rent for 3 families during a strike. A cook who slept in the pantry during a snowstorm so breakfast would still be served. A housekeeper whose daughter became the first scholarship student supported by the hotel's employee fund. "People think buildings hold history," she told me once. "They don't. People do. Buildings only keep the doors." I wrote that down on a yellow legal pad because I did not want to forget it. One evening, while organizing a box marked miscellaneous, I found a set of trust documents folded inside an old banquet program. They were not where they should have been. Even I knew that. The papers referenced a legacy foundation tied to the hotel's original charter. There were restrictions on certain property transfers, requirements for community programs, protections for employee scholarships, names, signatures, dates. I remember my hands going cold. "Mrs. Ellison," I said carefully, "I think you need your attorney to look at this." She did not panic. She just closed her eyes. Then she said, "I wondered where George had put those." George was her father. That folder changed things. Not overnight. Nothing important happens overnight, no matter how people tell stories later. But it slowed down a sale, it forced reviews. It made people read language they had hoped no one would find, Mr. Ellison came upstairs that night with his tie loosened and his face pale. He shook my hand with both of his. "Thank you," he said. I said, "I just found the folder, Mrs." Ellison from her chair said, "No, you knew it mattered." That sentence stayed with me. Not because it was grand, because she said it like my noticing had value. My family had always liked me useful. Mrs. Ellison made me feel trusted. There is a difference. Over the next year, I helped whenever she asked. I scanned documents. I cross-checked dates. I carried folders to the foundation attorney. I sat with her through quiet afternoons when she was too tired to talk but did not want the room empty. Sometimes I read old letters aloud while she corrected my pronunciation of names I had only seen on paper. Once, after a difficult appointment, she asked me if my family knew I spent time there. I told her no, why not? I took too long to answer. She did not push. Finally, I said, "They would make it mean something else." She looked at me with more understanding than I was ready for. "Then keep one thing for yourself," she said. "Not everything sacred has to be announced." When she died, the hotel sent flowers to my apartment. Not to my parents' house, mine, white roses and a small card in Mr. Ellison's handwriting. She was grateful you stayed. I cried over that card in a way I had not cried at the funeral. A few months later, Mr. Ellison asked me to attend a meeting at the hotel foundation office. I almost said no. I did not want money. I did not want attention. I did not want my name attached to something my family would suddenly find useful. But he said it was not about rewarding me. "It is about carrying forward what she trusted," he told me. So I signed papers. Advisory consent forms, conflict of interest disclosures, a confidentiality agreement. Boring things, serious things. My name became part of a small committee tied to the foundation's scholarship and preservation work. Not famous, not glamorous, just real, and I told almost no one. Because I knew exactly what my mother would do with it. She would tell people before she asked what it meant. She would turn Mrs. Ellison's kindness into a story about access. She would ask who I knew, what rooms I could get into, what invitations might follow. Nina would call it amazing networking. My father would say, "Your mother is proud," while letting her reshape it into something cleaner and more impressive than grief. So I kept it quiet. I kept Mrs. Ellison quiet, not hidden, protected. Late that Friday night, after Marcus's text, I sat at my kitchen table and opened the hotel email again. The screen lit my hands blue-white in the dark, foundation office, expected guest. Additional arrival details to follow. My phone buzzed again before I could close it. This time it was not my family. It was a new email from Claire Bennett. Subject: personal note regarding Saturday. I opened it slowly. "Dear Miss Hayes, Mr. Ellison asked me to confirm that your place is reserved for the Legacy Foundation portion of the evening. He is very much looking forward to seeing you again. A formal welcome packet will be held for you at the main reception desk." Warmly, Claire. I read it once. Then I read it again. Main reception desk. Not side entrance. Not staff check-in. Not the room my family had made for me. I sat there in the dim kitchen with the faucet still dripping once every few seconds, and for the first time all night, my breathing settled. My family thought they had handled everything. But the hotel was expecting me too. I did not sleep much that night, not in a dramatic way. I did not pace the floor or cry into a pillow. I just kept waking up before I had fully fallen asleep, checking the time, then turning over and listening to the building settle around me. At 2:13, someone upstairs flushed a toilet. At 3:08, a car alarm chirped once and stopped. At 4:40, the radiator clicked like it was trying to say something and could not get the words out. By morning, I was tired, but my mind was clear. That was what surprised me. The night before, Marcus's text had made my hands go cold. The email from the hotel had settled my breathing. And somewhere between those two things, I had stopped wondering whether I belonged at the gala. The answer had already arrived in writing. "Dear Miss Hayes, reserved for the Legacy Foundation portion of the evening. Main reception desk." I made coffee and printed the email. I did not need to print it. Everything was on my phone. But I wanted paper. Paper had weight. Paper could be folded and placed in a purse. Paper did not disappear if a battery died, or a screen cracked, or someone decided I was confused. The printer made its slow, uneven sound from the corner of my living room. I stood beside it with my mug in both hands and watched the page come out line by line. "Claire Bennett, Foundation Office. Mr. Ellison asked me to confirm." I folded it once, then again. I placed it inside the small inside pocket of my black purse, behind my ID and a debit card. After that, I took the blue dress out of the garment bag. The apartment was still gray with morning. The kind of light that makes everything look honest. No shine, no softness. Just the table with mail stacked at one end, the sink with a spoon in it, the cardigan I had left over the back of a chair. I hung the dress on the bathroom door and filled the steamer with water. The first burst of steam came out too hard and made me jump. Then it settled into a soft hiss. I moved slowly, sleeve first, then the waist, then the hem. The wrinkles loosened under my hand. I thought about Mrs. Ellison while I worked. Not the formal parts. Not the foundation meetings or signatures. I thought about the way she used to point at the chair across from her and say, "Sit down, Tyra." Standing near the door makes people think you're waiting for permission. I used to laugh when she said things like that, mostly because I did not know how to respond. Now I understood more than I wanted to. The dress looked different once it was steamed. Not new, just ready. I laid it on my bed and checked the weather on my phone. Cool evening, light wind, no rain. I checked my calendar even though I knew the time. I checked my purse, ID, lipstick, tissues. Printed email, house keys, phone charger. A small folded card I kept in the zipper pocket, Mrs. Ellison's card. She was grateful you stayed. I did not always carry it. That would have felt too delicate, like exposing something private to the bottom of a purse. But that morning I slid it in with the hotel email, not for proof, for steadiness. Around noon, my mother texted, "Remember, please be there by 6, earlier is better." I stared at the message for a moment before answering. The invitation says 6:30. Her response came almost immediately. "Tyra, don't be difficult. We already discussed this." We had not discussed it. That was one of my mother's smaller talents. She could make a decision alone and then speak, as if everyone had agreed to it in a meeting. I typed, "What do you need me there early for?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Just be flexible. There are moving parts, moving parts. I placed the phone face down on the bed and went back to smoothing the dress with my palm. A few minutes later, my father called. Of course he did. I let it ring once, then answered. "Hi, Dad. Hey, baby girl." His voice was gentle, careful, already apologizing for something he had not said yet. "Your mother said you're pushing back." I asked a question. "Well, sometimes the way you ask things can sound." He let the sentence trail off. I sat on the edge of the bed. "Can sound what?" "Like you're looking for a fight." I looked at the dress beside me. The blue fabric was calm under the window light. "I'm not looking for a fight, I know." "I know you're not," he sighed. "But tonight is important to her. It's important to everyone, apparently. She just wants it to go smoothly." There was that word again. Smoothly. I pressed my thumb against the seam of the dress. "Dad," I said, "did Mom tell people I was working the gala?" Silence, not confusion, silence. That told me more than any answer could have. "Who said that?" he asked finally. Marcus texted me. He made a small sound like air leaving him slowly. "People say things. Did she, Tyra? Did she?" Another pause. "I don't know exactly what your mother said. That was not denial. It was shelter." A little roof built over a lie. I closed my eyes. "Okay," Liz said quickly, hearing the distance in my voice. "Don't make anything difficult when you get there. We can clear up whatever needs clearing up later." Later, yes, later. Not in front of everybody. I almost asked him if there had ever been a good time for my dignity. Before dinner? After dessert? Between the speeches? But I did not. My voice stayed quiet. "I'm coming as myself." He was silent again. Then he said, "Just think about what this could do to the family." Not what this could do to me. To the family. I looked down at the dress. For the first time all week, I felt no urge to put it back in the garment bag. "I have to finish getting ready," I said. "Tyra, I'll see you there." I hung up before he could soften the command into concern. The rest of the afternoon moved slowly. I showered. I moisturized my arms. I clipped the loose thread inside the dress lining. I ironed a crease out of the thin scarf I planned to bring in case the ballroom was cold. I painted my nails a pale color that would not show if one chipped. Small things, steady things. At 4:30, I opened the family group chat. Messages had been coming in all day. Nina sent a selfie from the salon with foil in her hair. My aunt asked if the hotel had valet. My mother wrote, "Everyone remember, photos before dinner." Photos before dinner. I wondered if I would be in them. Then I wondered why I still wondered. At 5, I put on the dress. I did it without rushing. The zipper caught once near the waist, and I had to breathe out and guide it gently. When it finally slid up, I stood still in front of the mirror. The dress fit. Not perfectly in the way magazines mean it. It fit in the way something becomes yours after you stop asking permission to wear it. I put on small earrings, nothing bright. I pinned one side of my hair back. I applied lipstick, blotted it once, then checked my purse again, printed email, card, keys. I was reaching for my coat when my phone buzzed, a text from my mother. When you arrive, don't come through the front lobby. Use the entrance we discussed. It will avoid confusion. I stood there with my coat halfway over my arm, the entrance we discussed. We had not discussed an entrance. There was no misunderstanding now. No room left for me to explain it away. My mother did not just want me early. She did not just want me quiet, she wanted me unseen. I looked at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I unlocked it and read it again. Use the entrance we discussed. Behind me, the mirror held the blue dress, the purse on my shoulder, the coat over my arm, and my face looking calmer than I felt. I did not text back. I opened my purse and touched the folded email from the hotel. Main reception desk. Then I slipped my phone inside, picked up my keys, and walked out of my apartment without answering her. The ride to the hotel was quiet. I did not drive because I knew my hands would be too aware of themselves on the steering wheel. So I called a rideshare and sat in the back seat with my purse on my lap, one hand resting over the folded email inside it. The driver had soft jazz playing, not loud. Just enough to fill the car so neither of us had to speak. Outside, the city moved into evening. Storefront lights came on one by one. People crossed streets holding coats closed against the wind. A man in a delivery vest balanced 2 paper bags against his hip while waiting at a corner. Normal life kept happening, even while mine felt like it was narrowing toward one set of hotel doors. My phone buzzed twice during the ride. I did not look at it. That felt small, but it mattered. By the time we pulled up to the Ellison Grand, the sky had turned deep blue, almost the same color as my dress. The front of the hotel glowed against it. Tall windows, brass fixtures. Valets moving quickly under the awning. Guests stepping out of black cars like they had been poured from them. For a second, I stayed seated after the car stopped. "Here you go," the driver said gently. "Thank you." I stepped out before I could think too much. The wind moved against my coat, and I felt the dress shift beneath it. I adjusted my purse on my shoulder and walked toward the main entrance. Not the side. Not the service alley. The main entrance. The doorman opened the glass door for me. "Good evening, Mom." I almost turned to see who he meant. Then I nodded and walked inside. The lobby was exactly as I remembered, and not exactly the same. The marble floors still held the light like water. The flower arrangement in the center had white orchids and dark green leaves. The old piano near the lounge was being played softly by a man in a black jacket. Somewhere behind the walls, behind all that polish, was the service elevator with the little click before it opened. I had not been there in months. Still, something in me recognized the place before I did. I crossed toward the main reception desk, just as Claire's email had instructed. A young woman looked up from behind the desk. Her name tag read Layla. "Good evening," she said. "Are you checking in for the gala?" "Yes, Tyra Hayes." Her expression changed, only a little. But I saw it. She straightened, glanced once at the screen, then smiled with a different kind of warmth. "Miss Hayes, of course. We have your welcome packet ready." Before she could reach under the counter, I felt a shift to my left. A voice I knew too well. My mother. She was standing near one of the large columns at the edge of the lobby, wearing a dark green evening gown and a face that looked calm to anyone who had not been raised by it. My father stood beside her in a navy suit. His hands were clasped in front of him. He looked at me quickly, then at the reception desk, then back at my mother. My mother's eyes moved over me, the dress, the purse, my uncovered shoulders. The fact that I was standing at the main desk like I had every right to be there. Her smile tightened. "Excuse us," she said to Layla, already stepping toward me. Layla's hand paused beneath the desk. I gave her a small look, not even a shake of the head. Just enough, she stopped. My mother took my elbow. Again, it looked affectionate from across the room. Again, it was not. "Come with me for a second," she said. "I'm checking in. We need to talk first." Her voice was low, pleasant, sharper underneath. My father gave me a small, pleading look, as if I had already created the problem by arriving through the door with my name on the list. I let my mother guide me away from the desk, not because she had the right, but because I wanted to hear her say it plainly. She pulled me near the hallway beside the ballroom. The music from inside floated out each time the doors opened. Laughter, glasses, a burst of applause from some early introduction. Then I saw it, the service corridor. The kitchen door. It was plain compared to the rest of the hotel. Beige paint, small window. A stainless steel push plate polished by hundreds of hands. Every few seconds it swung open, releasing heat, voices, and the smell of food being plated fast. My mother positioned herself between me and the lobby. "What are you doing?" she whispered. I looked at her. Arriving. Through the front, that's where guests arrive. Her eyes flicked toward my dress again. "Tyra, this is exactly what I was trying to avoid." What confusion. The word landed between us like something rehearsed. My father stepped closer. "Let's keep our voices down." My voice was already down. My mother leaned in. "We already told people you work here." There it was. Not hinted, not a softened. Not hidden behind setup or check-in or helping, work here. I felt something inside me go very still. I looked at her mouth after she said it, like part of me was waiting for her to take the words back. She did not. "You told people I work here," I said. "Not in a bad way," she said quickly. I almost closed my eyes, "Not in a bad way." As if there was a generous version of erasing your daughter. Why? She looked annoyed now, not ashamed. Because people were asking questions. What questions? About what you do. About whether you were coming. About where you fit in with everything tonight. It was simpler. Where I fit, Tyra. My father touched my mother's arm lightly. "Diane." "No," she said, still whispering, still smiling toward the lobby every few seconds. "She needs to understand. This night has important people here. Your father's friends, the donors, the family. We didn't need everyone asking awkward questions." I watched a server pass behind her carrying a tray of water glasses. Awkward questions. That was what I had become. My father stepped in then, voice low. "Just don't embarrass the family. We can talk later." I turned to him. "Do you know what she told them?" He looked away. That was answer enough. Before anything else could be said, Aunt Denise came around the corner in a silver wrap, holding her phone and a small beaded clutch. "Oh, Tyra," she said, sounding relieved. "There you are. Honey, could you check whether they have the vegetarian plates marked?" Nina said someone needed to ask staff, and since you're all ready. She stopped. Her eyes moved from my face to my dress, then to my mother. The silence was small but crowded. My mother laughed softly. "Denise, we're handling it." Aunt Denise's face flushed. "Oh, I thought." Of course she thought. Because someone had told her what to think. I did not help her finish the sentence. My mother's hand tightened around my elbow. "See? This is why I asked you to come another way." I looked down at her fingers, then back at her. I didn't agree to that. Her expression hardened for half a second. Then she smoothed it away. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." My father murmured, "Tyra, please." That one word, please, would have sounded tender if it had been attached to my protection. But it was not. It was attached to their comfort. My mother glanced toward a coat closet near the corridor. "Look," she said, "there's still time. We can find you something more suitable to put over that dress. A black jacket, maybe. Something less." She searched for the word. I waited. "Noticeable," she finished. The dress did not move. I did not move, but I felt that cut. Not because she disliked the dress. Because she understood exactly what it did. It made the lie harder. Behind her, the kitchen door swung open again. A young server came out carrying a stack of folded napkins. He looked at me as he passed. Then stopped. His eyes widened slightly. "Miss Hayes?" My mother turned sharply. The server looked between us, suddenly unsure. I gave him the smallest shake of my head. His mouth closed. He nodded once and kept walking. My mother saw the nod. "What was that?" she asked. "Nothing." But then it happened again. Layla from the reception desk approached with a cream folder held carefully in both hands. Behind her was an older man in a black suit with a hotel pin on his lapel. I recognized him from years ago, Mr. Alvarez, one of the senior managers. He saw me and stopped so abruptly that Layla nearly slowed with him. His face softened. "Miss Hayes," he said. My father's brows drew together, my mother's eyes narrowed. I lifted my hand slightly, barely more than a gesture. "Please don't." Mr. Alvarez understood. He had worked at the Ellison Grand long enough to understand silence as its own language. He adjusted smoothly. "Your packet is ready whenever you are," he said. My mother stared at him. "Packet?" Layla looked uncomfortable. I reached for the folder, but my mother stepped half in front of me. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said. Her voice was still polite. It was the kind of polite people use when they expect staff to obey them. "Mr." Alvarez looked at her, then at me. Before he could answer, the ballroom doors opened wider. The sound inside lifted, and then a voice came from across the lobby. "Tyra?" Everything stopped. Not literally. People still moved. Music still played. The kitchen door still breathed heat into the hallway, but in my body, everything stopped. I turned. Mr. Ellison stood near the ballroom entrance, one hand resting on his cane, silver hair bright under the chandelier light. For a second, his face searched the space. Then he saw me. His expression changed into something warm and relieved. "There you are," he said, louder now. My mother's hand fell away from my arm, Mr. Ellison walked toward us slowly, but the room seemed to make space for him without being asked. A few guests turned, then a few more. He reached me and took both my hands in his. "My dear," he said softly. "I was beginning to worry they had delayed you downstairs." I heard my mother inhale. "Mr. Ellison," I said. His eyes lowered briefly to my dress, not in judgment, in recognition. "Eleanor would have loved that color on you, Eleanor." "Mrs. Ellison." My throat tightened, but I kept my face steady. My mother gave a small laugh. "I'm sorry, I don't think we've been properly introduced. I'm Diane Hayes, Tyra's mother, Mr." Ellison turned to her with courtesy. "Of course. She didn't mention she knew you," my mother said, still trying to smile. "No," he said gently. "Tyra has never been one to announce what she has done." That sentence moved through the small group like a draft. My father looked at me then, really looked, as if I had become someone he could not place, Mr. Ellison turned slightly toward Lila and Mr. Alvarez. "Would you make sure, Miss Hayes is escorted to the foundation table after we take a moment?" "The foundation table," my mother said. Mr. Ellison looked back at her. "Yes, Tyra is one of our honored guests this evening. Her work with the Legacy Foundation and with my wife before her passing is part of the reason we are able to celebrate tonight the way Eleanor intended." No one spoke. Not my mother, not my father. Not Aunt Denise, who still stood near the wall with her clutch held too tightly. The kitchen door swung open again behind us, but this time I did not look at it, Mr. Ellison's hand rested lightly over mine. "And Eleanor was very clear," he said. "Tyra was never to be left out of this night." For a few seconds after Mr. Ellison said that, no one moved. The kitchen door kept opening and closing behind us. Heat came out in short breaths. Dishes clinked. Someone called for more sauce from the line. Life kept going behind that door, quick and necessary and unseen. But I was not looking at it anymore. Mr. Ellison offered me his arm. Not because I needed help walking. Because he understood that entering a room can become a kind of statement when someone has tried to keep you outside of it. "Shall we?" he asked. I nodded. Layla handed me the cream folder from the reception desk. My name was printed on the label, Miss Tyra Hayes Legacy Foundation table. I held it in both hands for a moment. The paper was thick, real, simple. Behind me, my mother made a small sound, like she was about to speak and thought better of it. My father did not say anything. Aunt Denise stepped aside so quickly, her bracelet caught on her clutch. Mr. Ellison walked me into the ballroom. Not through a side door, not through the kitchen, through the open double doors where the other guests had entered. The room was warm with candlelight. Round tables filled the space, covered in white linens and low arrangements of flowers. People turned when we came in. Some recognized Mr. Ellison and smiled. Some looked at me with polite curiosity. A few relatives stared openly, trying to rearrange what they had believed only minutes earlier. I saw Nina near the family table, champagne silk, gold earrings, perfect posture. Her smile faltered when she saw me beside Mr. Ellison. Then she saw the folder in my hand. Then she looked at my mother behind me. I did not enjoy that moment as much as people might imagine. There was no rush of victory, no satisfaction that made everything worth it. Mostly I felt tired. Tired in a place deeper than my body. Because being seen by everyone at once does not erase all the years you were not. Mr. Ellison guided me to the foundation table near the front. There was a place card there too. Tyra Hayes, not staff, not helper, not extra, just my name. I sat down, and for the first time that night, no one asked me to move. My parents took their seats across the room with the rest of the family. They looked smaller from that distance. Not powerless, just less certain. My mother kept touching the stem of her water glass. My father stared at the program like he was trying to read his way out of the room. Dinner began. People spoke in lowered voices. Silverware moved carefully. The hotel staff moved around us with the quiet skill that keeps beautiful evenings from falling apart. At one point, a server placed a plate in front of me and said softly, "It's nice to see you again, Ms. Hayes." My mother heard it. I know she did because her fork stopped halfway to her plate. She did not look at me. That was the way consequence entered the room. Not with shouting. With pauses, with glances. With people realizing they had repeated a story they should have questioned. Later, Mr. Ellison stood at the podium. He did not make a spectacle of me. I was grateful for that. He spoke about the hotel's history, about Eleanor, about the Legacy Foundation, and the scholarship fund she had protected. His voice wavered once when he said her name. Then he steadied. "There are people," he said, "who preserve things quietly. They do not ask for credit. They do not stand near the center of the room. But without them, the room would not exist in the same way." He looked toward me. Only briefly. "Tonight, we honor that kind of loyalty as well." That was all. No dramatic reveal. No full explanation. No parade of my private grief in front of people who had not earned it. But it was enough. Across the ballroom, my mother lowered her eyes. Nina looked down at her lap. My father finally looked at me again, and this time there was no confusion on his face. Only discomfort. After dinner, while people were standing for coffee and small desserts, my mother approached me near the hallway outside the ballroom. My father followed a few steps behind her. She still looked polished. Her lipstick had not smudged. Her hair was still pinned perfectly. But something in her face had loosened in a way she could not fix quickly. "Tyra," she said. I turned. Mr. Ellison had stepped away to speak with another guest, and for the first time all evening, it was just us. My mother glanced around first. That told me where her mind still was. "We need to talk," she said. "All right." Her voice lowered. "Why didn't you tell us?" I waited. She folded her arms lightly, then dropped them, as if she remembered how that would look. "You let us walk into that," she said. I looked at her for a long moment. It would have been easy to answer too quickly, to say something sharp, to give her the embarrassment back with interest. But I was tired of spending my pain in rooms that did not value it. "I didn't let you do anything," I said. "You told people I worked here." Her mouth tightened. "That was a misunderstanding." "No," I said quietly. "It wasn't." My father stepped forward. "Tyra, your mother was trying to manage an awkward situation." "What was awkward?" Neither of them answered. So I answered for them. "Me being here as myself." My mother looked away. My father said, "That's not fair." I almost smiled. Fair. It was strange how people found that word only after the truth stopped favoring them. "I'm not trying to embarrass you," I said. My mother looked back at me quickly. "Then help us smooth this over." There it was still. Even after everything, help us. Smooth this over. I felt something settle in me. Not harden, settle, like a door closing softly. "I can't," I said. My father looked wounded. "Can't or won't? Both." My mother's eyes flashed. "After everything we've done for you." The sentence came out before she could dress it up. My father said her name under his breath, but it was too late. I looked at her, and I thought about every table I had set, every dish I had washed, every photograph I had stepped out of, every time I had been told to let one thing go because peace mattered more than truth. "I know you gave me things," I said. "I know that. But tonight you asked me to disappear so you wouldn't have to explain me." Her face changed then. Not enough to become apology, enough to become fear. "I will not make myself smaller to protect your image anymore," I said. The words were not loud. No one nearby turned, but my mother reacted like I had shouted. My father looked down at the carpet. I wanted him to say something, even then. Some small sentence that belonged to me instead of to her. I wanted him to say, "You're right," or "I'm sorry," or even "We hurt you." He did not. He only said, "This is going to be hard on the family." And that was when I finally stopped waiting. Not angrily, not all at once, just quietly. Like putting down a bag I had carried so long I had mistaken its weight for part of my body. "I know," I said. Then I stepped around them. I went back into the ballroom long enough to thank Mr. Ellison. He squeezed my hand and did not ask questions. That was one of the kindest things he did for me that night. Near the family table, Aunt Denise caught my eye and mouthed, "I'm sorry, maybe she meant it." Maybe she meant she was sorry she had been caught believing the lie. I accepted the apology with a small nod because I did not have energy to sort the difference. Nina did not apologize. She came close once, holding a coffee cup with both hands, and said, "I had no idea, I believed that." I also believed she had never cared enough to ask, so I said, "Now you do, nothing more." By the time I left, the ballroom had softened into music and low conversation. The program was over. The candles were shorter. Someone was laughing near the dessert table. My parents were still inside, surrounded by relatives who now had to decide what kind of silence they wanted to keep. I did not wait for them. I walked back through the lobby alone. The kitchen door was still there near the corridor. For a second I stopped. It looked smaller now. Just a door, beige paint, stainless steel plate, a window clouded with steam. Earlier that night it had held all the weight of every place my family had tried to put me. Useful. Hidden. Close enough to serve, not close enough to belong. Now it was only a door I did not have to walk through. I touched the strap of my purse. Inside was the printed email, Mrs. Ellison's card, my keys. The dress still felt smooth against my skin, untouched, uncovered, mine. As I crossed the lobby, the doorman opened the front doors. Cool air moved in. I stepped outside beneath the hotel awning. The city was quieter now. Cars passed with soft tires on the street. The night smelled faintly like rain, though none had fallen. Behind me through the glass, the Ellison Grand glowed gold. I thought of Mrs. Ellison then. Not as she had been near the end, tired in her chair by the window, but as she had been the first day I met her, looking at me like I was not an interruption. Standing near the door makes people think you're waiting for permission. I had spent so much of my life waiting for permission. Permission to sit, permission to speak, permission to be counted, permission to be seen without becoming inconvenient. That night did not fix everything. It did not turn my parents into different people. It did not erase the grief of realizing they had been willing to trade my dignity for a smoother evening. But it gave me something else, clarity, and sometimes clarity is kinder than hope. I walked down the front steps slowly, not because anyone was watching, not because I wanted to make a point, because for once I was not rushing to make anyone else comfortable. At the curb, I looked back one last time. The kitchen door was somewhere far behind me, hidden past the ballroom and the corridor and the heat of someone else's work. The main entrance was in front of me, open, lit, quiet, and I walked through my life from there.